Good day. I'm Gina Harris, and welcome to session 17 of the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully. This session, we will focus on global awareness and interconnectedness, the ideas of us all needing each other to work together. But in addition to that, how do we support our students in recognizing how we work together? What does interconnectedness mean, and how do we translate that with mindfulness-based practices? Our objectives today are to support self and students in learning and understanding identity and impact, understanding the interdependence of personal identity with all, and developing gratitude for diversity, inclusion as a practice. If you could take a look at this identity wheel that's here, it's important for each of us and our students to have an understanding of our own identity. How do we show up in this space? And how we show up in a space has everything to do with our cultural identity. As you can see on that wheel, there are a number of identity markers: race, mental or physical ability, language, sexual orientation, religion, socioeconomic status, age, gender. These are just a few of cultural identity markers. Understanding who we are impacts how we show up in the space. We bring our entire self into our space as an educator. And as an educator, it's important that our students know that we value and recognize all of who they are as well. So we begin to identify and celebrate differences by ensuring that we recognize and know what they are. Taking some time for students to write down what identity markers are most present for me. How do I show up in a space? What identity markers do people see of me first? Being fearless and brave in our conversations around race, identity, gender identity, and sexual orientation, those inclusive conversations and creating a space that allows it to be safe can all come from a mindfulness-based approach. And all of them have an impact on the ability for us to share who we are. So I want to invite you in this moment into a practice that lets us honor and recognize who we are. So first and foremost, if you could come seated comfortably in your seat. Allow yourself to lean back from your computer if you're leaned in. And begin to close your eyes or gaze down at the floor, taking a few long, deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. And I want you to bring to mind the question, who are you? Who are you in this moment? Who are you as an educator? And bring into your mind 3 of those identity markers. And breathe deeply into the appreciation of those 3 identity markers of who you are. And now I invite you to imagine your students before you. And imagine them noticing and becoming aware of their own identity markers. And then take a look with your mind's eye around the classroom and invite the students to do the same, to recognize the identities of each other. And in your mind's eye, allow there to be a smile on everyone's face as they acknowledge each other. Take a big deep breath. Inhale, exhale. And now bring your awareness back into the space, back to this session. And as a beginning, you can use that practice to allow yourself to get a little bit more comfortable with having conversations about identity, but also recognizing that we are all doing this work together. So the interconnectedness of us all, there are a lot of pieces about us being interconnected. And so we're going to take this idea of a grape. If you think about a grape and all that a grape is made up of, or any plant for that matter, The plant has taken in a lot of different pieces from its environment, the air, the water, the light, and transformed it into something that is useful. And as a grape becomes a grape, it takes in all of those pieces that are needed. There are farmers, growers, all of those wonderful, amazing people who not only provide for the grape everything it needs, but then bring that grape into a place where we can all have access and purchase it. So we need every single step along that line to happen in order for us to be able to eat a grape, for the grapes to even come to us. We need all of those pieces. So there is an interconnectedness of us all, not only in the food that we ingest, but in the spaces that we're in, especially in education. In education, our system is so interdependent and interconnected that what the support people are doing in your classroom or in your workspace are just as equally important as what we're doing. And each part is needed for our students to be successful. So these social ecosystems work together. They work together in our building, they work together in our classroom, they work together in a number of ways, from the school board to our administration, to teachers, to administrative assistants, those amazing folks in the office, social workers, psychologists. All of us form an ecosystem that at the heart supports students. So there's an interconnectedness within our system of education that is an interconnectedness of all life. Excuse me, and the work of Thich Nhat Hanh does point that out, or points out the interconnectedness of all life. So if you dig deeper into his work, you will find some of those pieces as it relates to mindfulness. Additionally, we want to develop an understanding of this interconnectedness. So any activity that you can do that makes students aware of where they are in a system of the world. It could be your ecosystem of your classroom, if you have helpers or those people that are assigned to certain tasks. If they're at the high school level, they can be thinking about the interconnectedness of all of their coursework and how that transforms them to be ready for a career or for college. Interconnectedness is happening in every single stage. So having an opportunity for us to connect with that mindfully, and when we say mindfully, we mean paying attention to what is, undistractable attention to what is. So mindfully becoming aware, encouraging our students to become aware of the interconnectedness and the ability for us to all work together, not only in our classrooms, but in our society. And next, the idea of gratitude. Gratitude as a connecting force. Gratitude as an activity of mindfulness, because by taking time to become aware in any moment of something that we're grateful for, that gives us a chance to breathe more deeply, connect more succinctly, and allow us to recognize the gifts in others, the greatness of others, the importance of the other people in our lives, in our classrooms, in our work. I imagine that you work on a team of people in your building, and in that team, there is a certain level of skill that each person brings. What we know in Indigenous traditions is that there is a skill set that each person brings for all of our work in community. And so thinking about the team that you work on, whether that be a grade level team, a departmental team, or any of those teams, right now bring into your mind someone that you're grateful for. Someone on the team who has a skill set that supports you in the work that you do. And once you have that person in your mind, broaden that out to the rest of your team and think about the gifts and skills of each and every person on your team and what they bring to your department, what they bring to your team, what they bring to your grade level meetings, and how their perspective enhances the work that we get to do together. By simply taking a moment to be grateful for each person's gift, we have the opportunity to share more deeply. This is not always an easy task. Maybe there's someone on your team who is not as easy to find something to be grateful for. But even that person brings this gift and a skill into the space. They are there purposefully. So taking time to recognize the gifts of each and every person, having the students write down one item that they're grateful for about each person in the class, one thing. Or maybe they just do one student. Maybe you make random pairs and they write down something that they're grateful for each person. Or maybe they write down something they're grateful for someone else in the building. It can always be expanded out. Gratitude is an expanding practice. Encouraging your students to keep gratitude journals, having daily one-word gratitude check-ins, if you do circle in the morning, or having them, each person write one down on the board. Maybe each day a different person writes down their one word for gratitude on the board each day. The important piece to remember is that there is a neural rewiring that happens when we practice gratitude. When we practice gratitude, new grooves of appreciation are actually being cemented in our brain so that those connections get stronger. And as they get stronger, we find more things to be grateful for. The neural capacity of our brain, right? The neuroplasticity of how our brains work, how our students' brains work, allows the expansion of gratitude on a daily basis when we focus on it. I invite you into a little challenge. For 7 days straight, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Just 3. Don't make it an extensive practice. Don't make it something that's going to take you too long. For 7 days, write down 3 things. And then I wonder, as I've seen it happen many times, if that gratitude practice expands. Usually it becomes 5 things or 7 things, or you keep going because it is a generative practice that actually produces feel-good hormones in our bodies. So good luck with that practice. So what you want to recognize is that there are different types of practices that you can do. Elements of your meditation, the elements of you meditation, my apologies, the elements of you meditation. Taking time to walk students or yourself through a practice that allows you to recognize each of the elements of who you are. Sometimes it's useful for students if you have them write that down first. Have them write down, what are 5 elements of you that are special, that are magnificent, that are wonderful? And then after they've written it down, walk them through a practice of breathing deeply and then moving into seeing in their mind all of those different elements and appreciating every single one. There's another practice of mindful observation of your identity. Have students take time throughout the day to monitor, wow, how is my identity showing up? How is who I am being present in this space? And how do I make sure that everyone else in the space has their identity honored at the same time? And lastly, and always, the breath connection. There is a connection of our breath right now, and in every single classroom. Whoever is in that space that is breathing deeply is breathing with you. We're all breathing in the same air in the same classroom. We're breathing in the same air in our towns, in our cities. If you expand that out to the state, to the world, to the globe, think about our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is a layer of air that allows us to breathe, and we are all interconnected in that way. So now that you've had an opportunity to think about the identity, first and foremost, thinking about the interconnectedness of our identity, there are some resources that you might want to take a look at. There's a book, there are always books by Thich, Hanh, highly recommended. And then Transformative SEL as a Catalyst for Climate Action by Meena Srinivasan, an article that the links will be provided for. In addition to that, take time to think about who are your students? Who are the people that you work with? How interconnected are we on a daily basis? How much of what happens in the office impacts what we're doing in the classroom? How much of what our diverse learner educators are doing impacts what we're doing in our classrooms? How much of what the social worker is doing is impacting what's happening in our classroom? And on the whole, the interconnectedness of our being on the planet and in our classrooms is always in action. So allowing our students to open their minds to the idea and to the awareness that we are connected globally, that our individual nature is important, and that each of us has something to contribute to that space. Thank you so much.